Hello and welcome to this video on the Lean Startup concept. My name is Rothe. I'm a researcher at Freie Universität Berlin from the Department Information Systems. This video on Lean Startup is very important for me as the Lean Startup concept is very important for the whole startup hub Berlin. So let's start with a question: what is Lean Startup? And I want to introduce a reference by Eric Ries, one of the founders of the Lean Startup concept, to introduce you to the topic. He said, a startup is a human institution designed to deliver a new product or service under conditions of extreme uncertainty. So let's try to understand what he really means. We start with the human institution. We deal with people. We deal mostly with other co-founders. And most of the times, these co-founders are very few people. When Airbnb started back in 2007, they were only 2 people. In 2008, there came another one, and they were 3. And then Y Combinator, they joined with Y Combinator, a very well-renowned incubator, and then they became 15 people. So in the end, you mostly deal with very few people with whom you very, very intensively work together. And that has to be worked out, and this is also leads to conflicts. Then there are the new products or services that you create, and you hopefully try to find a target group that wants your product or your service. And this is something that is where you work under extreme uncertainty. Extreme uncertainty with regards to your product is, of course, to the market, to the finance you have, to the predictions you have about the future, and there are a lot of other things that represent the uncertainty where you stand before if you start a startup. So what is a startup, and with which regard does a startup really discern from a company, a big company? A startup is nothing but is not a small version of a big company. I want to bring it to this notion a little bit further by introducing you to a very, very intuitive example. If you want to sell lemonade, for instance, which are made from self-grown oranges within your own garden right in front of your house, you would hardly compare yourself to a big company, a global player like Coca-Cola, for instance, who also sells beverages which are comparable to your lemonade. So why do you not compare yourself to Coca-Cola? Because a startup is a temporary organization. It is designed to search for a repeatable and a scalable business model. So you act in search. You search for assumptions about the unknown. You do not know the market. You do not know your target group, and you do not know your business model yet. This is a whole different point for Coca-Cola. They execute what they already know. They know their target group. They know their product. They produced this for more than a century, and they execute what they already know to find new target groups or to sell more products. This is a whole different point. Business modeling, as the process you go through as a startup, is the managerial equivalent of a scientific method. If you are right now in a university, or you were in a university, you should be familiar with the term hypothesis. And this is what you do if you go through the process of business modeling. You start with a hypothesis, which you then test in action, and you revise when it becomes necessary. So you form a hypothesis like you do in research. A change in an independent variable leads to a change in a dependent variable. You have assumptions about your market, assumptions about your target groups, and you try to validate these assumptions. If we place a product more prominently, would it be sold more often? This is a hypothesis that you could follow. But it's not, if we go to your specific product, maybe this doesn't work out. Or maybe it would. If you create a business model, and I assume that you are already familiar with the business model canvas, for instance. If not, there are a lot of good videos out there who present you to this specific business modeling tool. There are also other modeling tools, but let's stick to this. If you fill the business model canvas and you try to express your business model, what you typically do, you express guesses, assumptions about what the business model would look like. What are the channels that you want to, with which you want to bring your product to your customers? Who are your customers? What is your value proposition? And there are also, what are the revenues and the costs that you have? All assumptions, all guesses. So how do you validate your business model? How do you validate these guesses? Make these guesses to clear facts, or at least better guesses. I want to introduce you to the lean startup concept, and at the center of this concept, there stands the MVP, a minimum viable product. It is the basis for an agile, incremental, and iterative development for business models. In case you find a problematic assumption, in case you test your assumptions and you find that it's not worth it and you should change this assumption, you find new guesses. We call this a pivot. You change your business model in the end of the day. So how do we form these guesses? How do we test these guesses? The lean startup concept, as presented by Eric Ries and also by other authors like Steve Blank or Ash Maurya, they create a procedure which is built upon 3 activities: build, measure, and learn. Build, measure, and learn, these are all iterative activities that you go through, and then you start at the beginning. You build something, you measure something, you learn from this measurement, and then you build again. And you go through this process as fast as possible, because every iteration is time, is money. So if you go very fast through it, you are quickly able to learn more about your business model. Let's start by building faster. We enter the lean startup cycle with a testable minimum viable product. You find videos about what minimum viable products may be also on the internet. It could be an interview. It could also be a landing page that you created on the web. But it could also be a prototypical product that you may create to introduce your possible target group to the kind of product or service that you want to sell them in the end of the day. Minimum viable product means it is very low costs, but it consists of the main solution that you want to present. A landing page or a video that introduces your target group to your value proposition may already be a minimum viable product. Because if your target group sees a video and they find this video not really attractive, or they cannot see the real problem that you are trying to solve, then this could be problematic for you. Then this could mean that your target group, or the people that you thought your target group could be, are not seeing your problem. So you're not solving any problem that is relevant for them. A lean design means agile development. You try to lower your costs, you try to be as fast as possible. So I recommend to you use as much free or open source or free and open source tools as possible. There are many things that are highly scalable out there, especially if you go to a technical startup. I would recommend to you use cloud computing, use different types of software as a service, infrastructure as a service, as these are the services that are very, very lightly at the beginning, but also scalable. Then you have to go to usability and user experience tests. This is where you start to test your minimum viable product, for instance, your landing page or your video. But beware the analysis paralysis. Get out of the building. This is the main line from Lean Startup. Get out of the building. It means go to your customers. Do not sit at your desk and think about what your product may look like, or think about what the revenues may look like, or you may think of the value proposition that you want to present to them. Go out there, talk to them, ask your potential customers, and ask them if the things that you thought about them are really true. Ask about their issues. Interview them or observe them. You can use shadowing, for instance, as a method. Shadowing means you follow your potential customers, but please do not follow them too strictly, because that may be problematic. Then you test your solution. You can also go for interviews. You can make use of web analytics, usability testing. And I want to introduce you to one specific method, which is called pirate metrics. I want you to become a pirate in a different way, in a very specific way at least. Pirate metrics leads us to R. R consists of 2 A's and 3 R's. It means acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue. I chose an example here from a very well-renowned web shop. They brought a poster, for instance, out there to the masses to acquire customers. They want them to see the advertisement, then to visit their website and to sign up for the website. This is acquisition. Then they want them to click at some products or even buy these products. This is activation. So it is not sufficient just to attract people to your web page. You want them to buy products. And then you want them to buy them more often. This is retention. You want them to repurchase or to visit your website more often. And then we come to referral. We want them to mention your web page or your service or your product. We want them to retweet so that they attract more customers for you and you do not need very expensive advertisements, for instance. And finally, if we go through this whole process, we create revenue, which means money for your pocket. So there are a lot of key performance indicators that you could use to really measure all of these R criteria. You could use, for instance, the number of visitors. You could use the number of likes, the number of reshares, and so on. There are also very, very good blogs and descriptions out there on the web and also in the books that I mentioned below my slides. Then we learn faster. The process of the lean startup follows 4 steps. And these 4 steps are summed or grouped into 2 categories. It starts with search. We search for our business models. We try to find a problem-solution fit. What does problem-solution fit mean? It means that you want to find a relevant problem, a problem that is relevant for at least someone, and it is so someone that it's worth solving. Worth solving means it is solvable at all, because there are problems that aren't solvable. So people do want nobody else to die anymore, but this is obviously not really solvable for us. So there may be other relevant problems for you to find and to solve them. As soon as we found a problem that is worth solving and we find a solution that is sufficient to solve their issue, we are looking for a product market fit. We have a product, but does my solution, my product, my service, find an interested target group repeatedly? So do we generate revenue on a repeated scale? As soon as we found this, and this is mostly the hardest part in the startup process, as soon as you find product market fit, we are ready for scaling. And this is where we come to the customer creation. Customer creation means we derive user demands by the actual usage, for instance. And then we can optimize and go to efficiency within our organizational processes. We want to become better at delivering our value to the customer. We know how we solve their issue, we know who our target group is, and we know what kind of solution fits this market, but now we become better to delivering this solution at the end of the day. And this is customer creation. We optimize the processes. And as soon as we've done that, we become a real company. We go out of this temporary stage of being a startup into becoming a bigger company. We scale. So we ask ourselves, how do we design our businesses now, where we know who our target group is, when we know what is our product? How we design our business for growth? Maybe we need other people right now. Maybe we need a CEO suddenly, a new CEO that knows how to build our organizational structure for a global delivery of our product, for instance. we go through this lean startup cycle of build, measure, and learn, hopefully as quickly as possible. We try to go through this cycle before our money runs out. We try to quickly test our assumptions. And we've seen so far that there are different phases of our startup until we grow out of our startup phase into the big company phase. And these assumptions may be very, very different. At the beginning, it may be especially value assumptions. What is our value proposition? Who is our target group? What are our customers? Who are our users? How do they look like? Who are they at the end of the day? And we want to use methods like the empathy map or the value proposition canvas in this phase. We want to use the business model generation method, like for example, the lean canvas or the business model canvas, to create a business model and iterate through this business model as fast as possible and test it with users. We build our business model, we measure the guesses that we have within this business model, and then we learn about these guesses and pivot our business model. And then we go to the scaling phase. The scaling phase, there we find very, very different assumptions, the growth assumptions. We try to grow out of our startup into the big company at a time in the future. We try to build our startup into an organization that is able to grow out of this startup phase. And these growth assumptions may be filled with assumptions like, do we need a new CEO? Do we need a new delivery chain to address customers in India or in Africa, for instance? Completely different assumptions that we haven't had before within our first product market fit phase, or the first phase where we would try to build a product market fit. There is a whole variety of methods and there are a whole variety of topics that I could talk about all of these phases in this video. So what have we learned until now? We've seen a startup is not a big company. We've also seen startups are temporary organizations, and we've seen startups want to become big companies. And how do they do that? They handle themselves and their organization in very risky situations, and they have to handle great uncertainties. The lean startup concept is one method or one concept that tries to handle this uncertainty. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any comments regarding this video, I see this video as another minimum viable product. I already produced one minimum viable product of this video before, and I already got some comments from my students back then. And I hope if you have other comments, leave them in the comment sections. Thank you very much, and see you then.